What if a single act of kindness could change your life forever? Luke Harrison, a hard-working mechanic and single father, had no idea that giving up his first-class seat for a struggling mother on a plane would lead him down a path that would reshape everything he knew, from a garage to a powerful corporate world. Luke's simple gesture ignites a journey of love, betrayal, and redemption. But when the CEO of the airline, Amelia Grant, offers him a life-changing opportunity, Luke is faced with a choice: stay in the world he knows, or risk it all to fight for something bigger. What happens when their shared values of kindness and empathy are tested by a corporate conspiracy, threats, and a fight for justice? This is a story of how one man's compassion sparked a revolution and brought two souls together in the most unexpected of ways. The hum of the Boeing 737's engines vibrated through the first-class cabin as Luke Harrison eased into a seat that felt like it belonged to someone else. At 38, his broad shoulders carried the scars of a life spent wrenching under car hoods in his Detroit garage, his hands etched with grease and the quiet weight of loss. His flannel shirt and faded jeans stood out against the tailored suits and polished loafers around him, but Luke didn't care. This wasn't his world, until now. A viral post on X about his life as a widowed single father, raising his 10-year-old son Ethan alone after losing his wife Sarah to cancer 3 years ago, had caught the attention of Sky Harbor Airlines. They'd upgraded his ticket to Chicago as a gesture of goodwill, a rare stroke of luck for a man who measured luxury in moments of peace with his son. Luke gazed out the window, the tarmac blurring as the plane taxied. He was headed to his sister's for a weekend away, a chance to give Ethan a break from their cramped apartment above the garage. The first-class seat felt alien, too soft, too spacious. With a glass of sparkling water, he hadn't asked for sitting on an armrest. But a piercing sound broke his reverie, a baby's wail, raw and relentless, cutting through the murmurs of the cabin. He turned. In the aisle, a young woman struggled with a squirming infant, her face flushed with exhaustion. Her dark hair was pulled into a messy bun, strands sticking to her sweat-dampened forehead. She juggled a diaper bag, a bottle, and a crying child, her eyes darting as if searching for an escape. The flight attendant offered a tight smile, but little help. The woman's voice cracked as she whispered apologies to no one, her hands trembling as she tried to soothe the baby. Luke's chest tightened. He knew that look, the bone-deep fatigue of parenting alone, the weight of eyes judging your every move. He'd felt it in the sleepless nights after Sarah's death, when Ethan's cries echoed through their empty home. Without a second thought, he unbuckled his seatbelt and stood. "Ma'am," he said, his voice low but steady, "take my seat." The woman froze, her eyes wide with disbelief. "What? No, I couldn't." "You need it more than I do," Luke said, offering a small smile. "There's room up here for you and the little one. I'll be fine in the back." Her gaze flicked between Luke and the spacious seat, the baby's cries growing sharper. A few passengers shot annoyed glances, their lips pursed. "Are you sure?" she asked, her voice barely audible. "Positive," Luke said, already grabbing his worn backpack from the overhead bin. He didn't look back as he made his way to her economy seat, squeezing into a middle row between a snoring businessman and a teenager glued to a phone. The baby's cries faded, replaced by the plane's steady hum. Luke closed his eyes, content. It was just a seat. Back in Detroit, the garage smelled of oil and metal, a familiar refuge. Luke was under the hood of a '98 Chevy, wrench in hand, when the bell above the door chimed. He wiped his hands on a rag and turned, expecting a customer. Instead, a woman stood in the doorway, her silhouette framed by the late afternoon sun. She wore a tailored blazer and heels that clicked sharply on the concrete, her dark hair now sleek and polished. It took a moment for recognition to hit, the woman from the plane. "Mr. Harrison?" she asked, her voice warm but professional. Yeah," Luke said, squinting. "Sorry, do I know you?" She stepped closer, her smile softening. "I'm Amelia Grant. We met on a flight to Chicago 2 weeks ago. You gave up your seat for me and my daughter, Lily." Luke's brow furrowed, then cleared. "Oh, right. How's the little one doing?" "Much better, thanks to you," Amelia said. "That seat was a godsend. I came to thank you in person." Luke shrugged, rubbing the back of his neck. "No big deal. Glad I could help." Amelia's eyes held his, a flicker of curiosity in them. "It was a big deal to me," she said. "Can we talk for a minute?" Luke glanced at the Chevy, then the clock. Ethan was at school, and the garage was quiet. "Sure," he said, gesturing to a pair of folding chairs by the counter. "Not much to offer in terms of coffee, but I've got water." Amelia laughed, a sound that fell out of place in the gritty garage. "I'm fine, thank you." They sat, and Amelia leaned forward, her hands clasped. "Your kindness on that flight, it stuck with me. You didn't hesitate. Didn't expect anything in return. That's rare, Luke." He shifted, uneasy with the praise. "Anyone would have done it." "No," she said firmly. "They wouldn't. I see a lot of people in my line of work. Most don't give up a first-class seat for a stranger." Luke raised an eyebrow. "Your line of work?" She paused and said, "I'm the CEO of Sky Harbor Airlines." Luke blinked, his mind racing. The CEO? The woman he'd helped ran the entire airline? He let out a low whistle. "Well, damn. Didn't see that coming." Amelia's laugh was warm, but her expression turned serious. "I've been thinking about how to make our airline better, more human, more compassionate. Your act of kindness inspired me. I'd like you to consider a role with us, helping reshape our customer care leadership, bring that heart to our team." Luke stared, stunned. "Me? I'm a mechanic, not a suit. I don't know anything about airlines." "You know people," Amelia said. "You know what it means to care. That's what we need." He shook his head. "The idea too big, too foreign. I've got Ethan to think about. My garage, my life, it's all here." "I understand," Amelia said, standing. She handed him a business card, her fingers brushing his briefly. "Think about it. The offer's open." As she left, the bell chimed, and Luke stood frozen, the card heavy in his hand. The CEO, in his garage, offered him a job. It felt like a fever dream. The weeks that followed were restless. Amelia's words clung to Luke like engine grease, impossible to scrub away. The garage was his anchor, a piece of Sarah's memory. She loved the hum of this place, the way Luke could fix anything with his hands. But the bills were relentless. Ethan's shoes were wearing thin, and the apartment's ceiling leaked. Amelia's offer was a chance at stability, a better future for Ethan. Yet doubt gnawed at him. Could he leave the life he'd built, step into a world he didn't understand? He called Amelia. They met at a diner near the garage, sharing coffee and greasy fries. The conversation drifted from the job to their lives. Amelia spoke of her husband, James, killed in a car accident 2 years ago, leaving her to raise her 6-year-old daughter, Sophie, alone. Luke shared memories of Sarah, her laugh that filled their home, the way Ethan still left drawings for her under his pillow. Their losses wove them together, a quiet bond forming in shared silences. Their meetings became a ritual: coffee, park walks, sometimes with Ethan and Sophie in tow. The kids clicked, Ethan's quiet seriousness balancing Sophie's boundless energy. Luke found himself drawn to Amelia's strength, her warmth, the way her eyes softened when she spoke of Sophie. But the job offer loomed, a question neither could ignore. What does it mean to start over when your heart is tethered to the past? Luke wrestled with it nightly, staring at Amelia's card under the dim kitchen light. He thought of the plane, the crying baby, the seat he'd given up without a second thought. Maybe that moment was more than a kindness. Maybe it was a turning point. Luke took the job, starting as a consultant for Sky Harbor's customer care team. He was out of his depth, surrounded by corporate jargon and sleek offices, but his ideas, simple, human-focused changes like better training for flight attendants, priority seating for families, and a fund for passengers in distress, gained traction. Employees listened, drawn to his no-nonsense sincerity. Amelia watched him with quiet pride, their partnership deepening into something neither named but both felt. A spark, a warmth, a possibility. One evening, while reviewing passenger feedback in Amelia's office, Luke noticed a file labeled Project Compass. Curiosity sparked. "What's this?" he asked, tapping the folder. Amelia's face tightened, a shadow crossing her eyes. "It's an initiative, still in development." Luke sensed her unease. "Come on, Amelia. You've been straight with me so far. What's it about?" She sighed, closing the file. It's a loyalty program, but it's complicated. It uses data, passenger behavior, preferences, even emotional states, to personalize their experience. It's supposed to improve service, but Luke's stomach twisted. Emotional states? You're tracking how people feel. It's not like that, Amelia said, defensive. It's cameras in cabins, voice analysis during bookings, social media patterns. The board pushed it to boost profits. I inherited it. Luke, I'm trying to rein it in. You're spying on people, Luke said, his voice hard. That's what it sounds like. Amelia's eyes flashed with guilt. I'm not the enemy here. I'm trying to balance what's right with what keeps this company afloat. Luke leaned back, his trust shaken. The woman he was falling for, the one whose laughter warmed his nights, was part of something that felt like a betrayal. He thought of the passengers he'd met, families, workers, people like him. Did they know their lives were being dissected for profit? Luke couldn't let it go. Late nights in the office. He dug deeper, accessing files he wasn't meant to see. Project Compass was more than invasive. It was a gold mine for the board, collecting data to sell to advertisers, insurers, even government agencies. Cameras tracked passengers' expressions, algorithms analyzed their stress levels, and their social media posts were scraped for insights. The more Luke uncovered, the more he realized Amelia was trapped, pressured by a board that saw passengers as data points, not people. He confronted her in her office, the city skyline glowing behind her. This isn't you, Amelia. You're better than this. Shut it down. Her face was a mask of conflict. It's not that simple. Luke, if I push back, I could lose everything, my position, my ability to protect Sophie, to change things from inside. Then let me help, Luke said. We'll expose it. Together. Amelia hesitated, then nodded. They devised a plan. Leaked Project Compass to the press, anonymously. Luke reached out to a journalist he'd met through a customer complaint, passing encrypted files detailing the program's scope. The story broke on X, trending within hours. Sky Harbor Airlines caught spying on passengers. The backlash was swift. Passengers boycotted. Stocks plummeted, and the board scrambled to contain the fallout. But the leak had consequences. The board traced it to Amelia's office, and suspicion fell on Luke. One night, as he locked up the garage, a black SUV pulled up. A man in a suit stepped out, his voice cold. You're playing a dangerous game, Harrison. Back off or your son pays the price. Luke's blood ran cold. Ethan, he'd never considered the stakes could reach his son. He went to Amelia, his voice shaking. They threatened Ethan. I'm done. Amelia, I can't risk him. Her face paled. Luke, I'm so sorry. I didn't know it would go this far. You should have, he said, the words cutting deeper than he meant. He walked away, his heart torn between love for her and fear for his son. Luke returned to the garage, shutting out Amelia and Sky Harbor. He focused on Ethan, on the routine of oil changes and school pickups, trying to bury the ache of what might have been. But the story didn't end. One evening, Ethan came home with a note from school, a warning about a stranger lingering near the playground, watching him. Luke's heart stopped. Was it the board? Someone else? He installed a security system, kept Ethan close, but the fear lingered. Then, a package arrived at the garage, no return address. Inside was a USB drive with a single file, an audio recording of a board meeting. Luke listened, his hands shaking. The board wasn't just after him. They were planning to scapegoat Amelia, framing her for the leak to save their own skins. Worse, they hired a private firm to handle Luke, with vague but chilling instructions to neutralize the problem. Luke's anger flared. He'd walked away to protect Ethan, but Amelia was still in danger. He called her, his voice urgent. You need to get out. They're coming for you. Amelia's voice was steady but strained. I know. I found out this morning. I'm leaving the company. Luke, but I need your help one last time. Against his better judgment, Luke agreed. They met in a dimly lit diner, Sophie and Ethan playing checkers in a corner booth. Amelia revealed her plan. Go public, expose aboard corruption, and dismantle Project Compass for good. But there was a catch. She discovered the board had ties to a larger data conglomerate, one with enough power to silence them both. "We're not just fighting Sky Harbor," she said, her eyes fierce. "This is bigger. If we do this, there's no going back." Luke looked at Ethan, laughing with Sophie, and felt the weight of his choice. "I'm in," he said. "For you, for them." Amelia and Luke worked in secret, gathering evidence, emails, contracts, proof of the board's dealings with the conglomerate. They contacted the journalist again, this time with a bigger story. Sky Harbor's board linked to global data scandal. The article hit like a bomb, sparking lawsuits, investigations, and a federal inquiry. Amelia went public, testifying against the board in a televised hearing that gripped the nation. Luke stood by her, his quiet strength a counterpoint to her fire. But the conglomerate fought back. Luke's garage was vandalized, tires slashed, windows smashed. Anonymous threats arrived daily, some targeting Ethan and Sophie. One night, Luke woke to a brick through his apartment window, a note attached. Last warning. He moved Ethan to his sister's, his heart breaking at the fear in his son's eyes. Amelia, too, faced pressure. Her accounts were frozen, her reputation smeared. Yet she refused to back down, her resolve fueled by Luke's belief in her. Together, they rallied Sky Harbor's employees, many of whom had grown loyal to Luke's vision. A strike crippled the airline, forcing the board to resign. 3 years later, Luke and Amelia stood in a small backyard in a quiet Detroit suburb. The house was modest, bought with the proceeds from selling the garage and Amelia's book deal, a memoir on corporate accountability that became a bestseller. Sky Harbor had been restructured under new leadership, with Luke's customer care initiatives as its cornerstone. The conglomerate faced criminal charges, its influence shattered. Ethan and Sophie, now thick as thieves, chased fireflies in the dusk, their laughter a melody of hope. Luke's nonprofit, training mechanics from underserved communities, was thriving, while Amelia taught business ethics at a local college, her lectures packed with students inspired by her story. As they sat on the porch, Amelia took Luke's hand, her fingers warm against his. "You changed everything," she said. "That seat you gave up, it wasn't just a seat. It was us." Luke smiled, his thumb tracing her knuckles. "All I did was see you needed help." "And I saw you," she whispered, leaning against him. "We built this, Luke, together." Under the stars, Luke knew the truth. A single act of kindness had unraveled their past and wove them into a future neither had dared imagine. The plane, the threats, the fight. They were chapters in a story that led here to a home filled with love, laughter, and second chances. Ethan ran up, a firefly cupped in his hands, and Sophie followed, her eyes bright. Luke pulled them close, Amelia's arm around his waist, and felt the weight of his old life lift. This was his family, his purpose, his home. If this story of courage, love, and redemption moved you, please like and subscribe for more tales that show how small acts can spark seismic change. Share your thoughts in the comments. Have you ever made a choice that changed your life? Let us know. And keep following for stories that remind us of the power of compassion.